The historical events are a separate expansion for Hegemony that is an additional variation on the game. So the way this works is we have 6 different time periods represented here. The early period is the 18th and 19th centuries. Period 1 is the 1900s to the 1920s. Period 2 is the 1920s through the 1940s. Period 3 is the 1940s through the 1960s. Period 4 is the 1970s to the 1990s, and then period 5 is the 1990s through the 2020s. So the way this works is you would take one card from each of these stacks, and it'd be random for each one, and then you would stack them up face down. And you would have the setup card would be the early period, and then you would put the period 1, period 2, period 3, period 4, period 5. Again, in the actual game, you would do this secretly, but put them in that order, so then when you flip them over upside down, then they will come out in the correct order. So during setup, you'll flip over the early period card, and that will have an immediate effect that'll impact players. So for the middle class and the working class, they get to add 2 voting cubes to the bag for the Industrial Revolution card. And then the capitalists, before drawing any action cards, they can search their action deck for 2 technological progress cards and add them to their hand, shuffle the deck, and draw 5 more action cards, and they get 10 as well. So that would be an effect that would be immediately applied, so those players would get those benefits. Then during the preparation phase of each round, you would flip whatever the next card is, which would go with that round. So phase 1 should be in round 1, and now this is an example of the round 1 card. So in the setup card, there aren't any requirements. You just have the effect, which is going to be whatever the harm or benefit of that historical event is going to be. But for the round cards, there are going to be a few more pieces of this. Okay, so you have the number of the number of the phase or the period card. The number of the period card should correspond with the round that you're in. So then you have a requirement, right? So this says the requirement. There are at least 2 out of 3 operational luxury companies. So you have to have 3 luxury companies built, and 2 of them must be operational. And if they are, then the trigger for this would be to take a free action. So any one of the players could do that, but we have to have this first. So this could come from anyone. So in some senses, this is a way that the players could all try to work together to make sure that they accomplish that requirement, so then they can all have the best. So what's the effect? For the working class player, they get 1 luxury. For the middle class and the capitalist, their luxury companies produce 2 extra luxury this round, and the state will get 15. So that would be the benefits. Each period card will play similarly to the first one. After the starting cards, the early cards, they only have the effect, but all the other cards play the same way. The only difference really is, the time periods plus the graphic design for each time period. It tries to be a little reflective of how time is changing. So you still have your requirement, and you have to make sure that's fulfilled. You have the trigger, and then you have the impact for the different players. So that's how the historical events work. There are 5 for the early time periods, and then all the other periods have 9. So it creates a lot of variability in the game if you add these and have the different random events having different impacts each round for the different players. One other thing to note for the historical event cards, they can only be triggered once. Once the players have gotten the benefit from them, the card would be turned face down and would no longer be used.